Welcome to this live stream of Reading Academic English. We are going to be taking a look at an article today, new article, and just apply some of the strategies that we've discussed in the past. This is a article from Psychology Today, so it's a psychological topic, and it's only about a page and a half, 2 pages, page and a half, 2 pages long. Actually, you know what would be a good idea? Just to do a word count. What's our word count on this? So 1,200 words approximately. So we can, maybe I'll put that somewhere here. Let's see, we'll say 1,200 words. All right, excellent. And then the level of language and vocabulary here is, we're looking at about a C1 level. And that's what we're gonna go. That's what we're gonna start with. So let me space this out a little bit further. All right. So to review the strategies that we've talked about in the past, this will just kind of be how we're going to tackle this article today. So number one, we start with the title and try to get an idea about a guess about the general idea. We know that we're dealing with psychology because of the website. So something psychological. So that's a start. Anyway. Look at the title. Try to understand the title. What does it mean? Number two, we will then look at the first paragraph. And again, here we're wanting to make guesses about the main idea of the entire article. Right? What is the main idea? So that'll be the first paragraph. What is that? I can't write a simple I on there. Okay, there we go. Number three, we will skip to... actually, you know what? Number three, we're going to do headings. You know, maybe we should do headings as number 2. I don't know. We'll talk about this. These two, depending on the article, depending on the kind of writing we're looking at, I might look at headings. No, you know what? That's not true. I guess I generally would tackle kind of the first paragraph or first area and then do headings. But there's some flexibility there. There is some flexibility there. So the headings, which would be the subtitles within the article, which I know this one has. So when I mean headings, what I mean is like these right here. So that's a heading. And is that here's another. Oh, there are only 2 headings. Okay, so that's not a lot to handle. But we'll do that second. So first we're dealing with the this is my number 1. So first we're dealing with can't draw a number 1. There we go. Number 1, we're dealing with the title. Then the first paragraph. This is this whole section here. You know what? Instead of the first paragraph, I might just take this whole section because these are. They're only like what, one sentence apiece, 2 sentences. So I might handle all of this second, just because it'd be very easy to read through that quickly. Then number 4 would be take a look at the headings. No, I'm sorry, number 4. Number 3, we look at the headings. Next, we've got so again, we'll just be, I guess we can call that 3B, 3A, and 3B. Can I do that? 3A and 3B? 3A and, yeah, 3A and 3B. And then number 4, we're going to look just at the very last paragraph only. That'll be number 4. And this will all be before we do any serious or deep reading. What am I looking for? Looking for this. Okay, great. So headings, last paragraph. I did say the first paragraph. I might stick just with that first paragraph and not the entire section. All of this is in service of trying to determine what the main idea is. What is the main idea, right? What is the main idea? That's the goal here. Then after that, so by the way, this is our reading academic English strategy. Reading, and this is for an article. So this is a strategy specifically for an article. It is not a case study. It is not a textbook. It is not a novel. It's not a screenplay. Specifically for an article. All right. So, wonderful. We have title, first paragraph, headings, last paragraph. Then we will skim the article. And then all of this. So these, let's see, we'll skim the article for, let's say this will be for 2 minutes. So it'll be a 2-minute skim. So 2 minutes. Difficult time writing with the mouse. So for 2 minutes, we'll skim through the article, all in the service of trying to understand the main idea. Again, main idea. What is the main idea? This is the goal. We're not worried so much about the details. We're wanting to focus on the main idea. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, that works like that. So to review, read and understand the title. Read and understand the first paragraph. Read and understand the headings. Read and understand the last paragraph. And then finally, skim the article, trying to understand what the main idea of the article is. So that's the game plan. That is the strategy. Great. So let's return to the title and begin with the title. And we're going to begin by reading the title out loud. Okay. I will be reading it out loud. I encourage you to either read it out loud first, read it out loud while I'm reading it, or read it out loud after, or all three. And this is an opportunity to think about pronunciation. But the focus here is on trying to understand or make a guess about the main idea of the article. So here is the title. Can you learn to like what you should? Okay, so that's the title, which is confusing, I think. It's a question, right? We see that this is a question. And the title doesn't really have what we would call content words in it. It's a very grammatically complex question. Can you learn to like what you should? So we need to make a guess about what we think the meaning of this is. Can you learn to like what you should? What you should like, I guess. Can you learn to like that what you should like? Okay, interesting. Let's take a look at the secondary title here. Research claimed that choices change our preferences. Sadly, that is not true. Okay, so that's interesting. That's interesting. So now we have a little bit of content here. So research claimed that choices change our preferences. Sadly, that is not true. So what do you think that means? What's your guess about the idea here? So the thing that jumps out at me, two things that jump out at me are the liking and preferences. Also, I see that this is a question that is a yes, no question, right? It's can, right? Can. It's a yes, no question. So does the secondary title answer the question? And it does answer the question. Can you learn to like what you should? Well, here's our answer. Our answer is no. That's the claim anyway. That's what the article seems to say. Sadly, that is not true. And the that here, what is the that referring to? The that is referring to the statement before. So all of this, sadly, is not true. That's the idea here. Untrue. Untrue. Research. So this would be, I don't know what. Scholars, scientists, professors. I don't know what's researchers, but we have this general non-count noun, research, and we're just talking about the maybe published published studies that have claimed in the past, we don't know when this was, they've made these claims that choices change our preferences. That choices change our preferences. I'm a little unsure about that. Sadly, that's not true. Here's my guess. So this is, again, we're talking about psychology. And it seems to be that we are, well, I say we, as our author is disagreeing with former or prior research. So our author is disagreeing with previous, prior, or former research. The research that has come before, this author is disagreeing with that. And it seems to be okay, here's something else I'm noticing here, and that is I want another color. Give me a green. The relationship of learning and choices changing our preference. So there's something else there as well. All right. So what kind of a guess can we make about it? My guess at this point is that it's something like this. That if we have a pizza, right? We've got this is my wonderful pizza, right? Here's a pizza. Okay. And then over here we have broccoli, right? There's some broccoli. Can I change the, I don't want to change all the color here. Let me see. So we've got pizza and, no? Why isn't that not working? Pizza. Okay, so we've got broccoli there. And we have some pizza. I don't know what, some meatballs on there or something like that. I don't know. So we've got some pizza and we have broccoli. All right. And at first, let's change the color here. I like the pizza. I prefer the pizza. I have a preference for the pizza. But maybe I don't like the broccoli. I like the pizza. I don't like the broccoli. I have a preference, right? So the idea is, can we change this to where we would learn to not like the pizza and like the broccoli? Okay, that's the idea that I have here from this, that we are making a change or we're learning, right? So we're making a choice to learn to move from one preference to another preference. That's the idea that I have. Oh, in fact, even skipping ahead, I do see they use the word pizza. There you go. Very common thing. So we'll get to that in a moment here. But, all right. So, can you learn to like what you should? Research claim that choices change our preferences. Sadly, that is not true. All right. So then let's go ahead on then to number 2. So number 1, we've done that. We've read the title and the secondary title, and we're making a guess that this article is somehow disagreeing with previous research about the psychology of changing what you like, changing preferences. That's what I have so far. Okay, let's take a look at this first section. Wouldn't it be great to get your children to like their greens instead of asking for pizza? Or to get yourself to like working out in the morning without a struggle? Okay, so greens, this could be any kind of green vegetable. Working out, what does working out mean? Going to the gym, right? So going to the gym. Oh, I can't do that. Well, going to the gym without a struggle, that you enjoy or prefer doing it. So wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great? Sure, it would be great. I think I'm going to read the rest of these here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 very small paragraphs. But we'll look at all of this as being the introduction. This is the introduction. Intro. Common sense says that people choose what they like. Surprisingly, some research in psychology suggests that people also come to like what they choose, even if they didn't like it before. Okay, so a couple of things. So some research in psychology. All right, so this is what we're going to be disagreeing with, I guess. We're going to be disagreeing with some research. I'm interested in this idea of common sense. What is common sense? Does anyone know what that means, common sense? It's like the usual understanding of things. So common sense, the usual understanding. It's like what most people believe or think. Can't spell understanding. So common sense, the usual understanding says that people choose what they like. Yeah, so when we say common sense, it means we don't need any further explanation. We do not need it to be explained. We know it. Common sense is that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and the sky is blue, and if it rains, you'll get wet. This is examples of common sense. So common sense says that people choose what they like. Surprisingly, then, this is going to be the opposite of common sense. So common sense is what we expect. Surprisingly, then we're having a reversal. We're changing, we're contrasting. So common sense says one thing, but we have a surprise. Surprisingly, some research in psychology suggests that people also come to like. So come to like. This gives the idea of a gradual to come to like over time. It's not sudden. It doesn't happen quickly. Some research suggests that people come to like what they choose, even if they didn't like it before. So it's a change over time. They didn't like it before, and then eventually, over time, they come to like. Eventually, they come to like, even if they didn't like it before. This is what some research said in the past. The argument might sound familiar. If you force your child to practice the violin or eat greens every day, at some point, her tastes will change and she will eat more healthily or engage in rewarding and fulfilling activities all of her own accord. No struggle needed. So it says the argument might sound familiar, and then really we have the argument is what follows. The argument might sound familiar. All that follows. So what is the argument? We have the argument. All of this is the argument. This is not the opinion of the author. This is the previous understanding or the surprising understanding from previous research. Right? So this is not the opinion of the author. This is a representation of the argument. This is a restating of the argument. This is what the argument, and you could think yourself if you agree or disagree with this argument. If you force your child to practice the violin or eat greens every day, at some point her tastes will change. By the way, at some point, this also gives this idea of come to like, even if they didn't like it before, that eventually, at some point, it doesn't happen quickly, but it takes time. At some point, her taste will change and she will eat more healthily or engage in rewarding and fulfilling activities all on her own accord. Her own accord means of her own choice, of her own will. Of her own accord, of her own, could say, on her own will, her own choice. And there's no struggle. You don't have to fight. You don't have to push. You don't have to threaten that she's going to make these choices to be healthy or to be more disciplined. She will make these choices on her own. Okay. Then we end this with this question. So, how long do you have to insist until you actually like doing 20 push-ups every morning? Oh my gosh. So, how long does this take according to the research? So, how long do you have to insist until you actually like doing 20 push-ups every morning? So, how long will this take? Okay, and then that's the end of our introduction. So what's interesting here about our introduction is it's interesting in the introduction. So usually teachers, English teachers, would say we will find the thesis of with essays. This is not an essay, so I don't want to misrepresent the piece of writing. This is a different genre. It's not an essay. So typically in an essay, you would find the thesis statement in the introduction. But this is an article and doesn't have to follow the rules of an essay, although some articles do. But here, I would say there is no thesis. My guess is there's no thesis in this introductory section here, in this introduction. I feel like the thesis of this article, right? The thesis, write that word here. Excuse me. The thesis, my guess is right here. That's my guess. That the article is structured in a way, because it begins with a question. The title is a question. And it is trying to, I guess it's setting up a disagreement. The article is disagreeing with previous research. And so the introduction is basically setting up previous research, right? It's saying, before I tell you I disagree with something, I need to tell you what that thing is. Like, for example, if I tell you that I disagree with my brother's choice of the car that he bought. Like, my brother bought a certain car and I don't like the kind of car. I disagree with the kind of car that he purchased. I don't think it was a good purchase. You need to know what kind of car it was, or my disagreeing with it isn't going to be very, very informative or useful. So what I think the article is doing here is beginning with the idea that later it will disagree with. That's my understanding. So I feel everything I have here in blue um, is the idea that will be disagreed with. It's kind of like an antithesis or antithesis, that this is the idea that will ultimately be disagreed with. That's my guess. But I haven't read the article yet, so I'm not sure exactly how this will go. All right. Well, that's fine for part 2. That is fine for part 2. I'm going to check that off like this. Okay. The title, introduction. Number 3, we're going to look at the headings. Now, we only have 2 headings. We have this one, and we have this one. 2 headings. Okay. Let's see. So we'll read both of them and make our guesses. So first, the first heading. Do choices change preferences? Do choices change preferences? Well, this seems to reflect, or do choices change preferences? This seems to be the same idea that we have in the title. Choices change. Oh, goodness, that's terrible. It's terrible. Choices change preferences. I don't know the best way to underline it. Maybe like this. Choices change preferences, but we also include the question. We don't know the answer. We're asking the question. So the research said in the past that choices can change preferences. Is this true or is this false? So here we ask the question again. Do choices change preferences? So I would expect to find the answer to this. And what do you think the answer is going to be according to this author? Right? This is a yes or no question, right? Do. So yes. Oops, I'll write it out here. Yes or no, right? Well, we know what the author is going to argue. Do choices change preferences? The author is obviously going to argue no, right? It's not a question. The author is going to argue. How do I know that? I know that because the author says it right here. Sadly, that is not true. So we have the answer to this question. What don't we have? Well, we don't have the reasons. We don't know why the author is saying that. So for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, how many paragraphs do we have? 4, oh my gosh, 5, 6, 7. So 7 paragraphs. For the majority of the article, we will be given an explanation about why the answer is no. Why the answer is no. Right. Okay, great. So that's that heading there. That 3A. I'm going to put a check mark there. Then let's look at the last heading. Last heading. And we only have 2 paragraphs here. So I'm guessing this is basically the conclusion. Right? So if we have the introduction here, then down here we'll have the conclusion. And this is what the subtitle says. It says familiar versus unfamiliar options. Familiar versus unfamiliar options. All right. So familiar and unfamiliar. Okay, these are terms we know, right? It means do we know this thing or do we not know it? Is it a new thing or something we're used to? Versus, this means we're making a comparison or challenge or a contrast. We're contrasting something. And then options would be a choice or choices. So it's a contrast of choices. Contrast of choices. That's the idea here. How does this fit with what we've seen before? I do not know. I don't know. Familiar, but we're making a contrast between things that we know and things that we don't know, things that are new. Okay, but that's it. I can't really say anymore. This is going to be a question, definitely a question mark here. I do not know what this is going to be, but that's enough for now. When we look at it more closely, hopefully we will come up with an answer. So let's move on to number 4, or our fourth thing, which will be the last paragraph or the conclusion. Now here, because we haven't read all of the article, we don't know all the information that's above. So we may not understand very much in this conclusion. But the reason I want to read it now is because in my mind, I'm trying to get a general idea of the content of the article. And I'm wanting to make sure that this is in line, that the conclusion is in line with my idea or my assumptions. So what are my ideas or assumptions so far? I know it's an article that's from a psychology website dealing with psychology. I know that it is dealing with preferences and what people like or don't like. I know that it is disagreeing or challenging earlier research, right? So it's some kind of a change, a disagreement, I guess is the best word to use. It is a disagreement with previous research, right? Okay, but let's take a look at this last paragraph then. Let's take a look at this last paragraph, see what we can understand from it. Okay, it says this. For unfamiliar options, new stuff, however, that might be another story. According to cognitive dissonance theory, our brain tries to reduce the tension between two simultaneously held views. If you attend a course and the topic is hard, you might come to like the topic more to reduce the tension between the unpleasantness of the course and the fact that you chose it, as long as you did not have a clear preference before. But the third course on a topic that you dislike might not change your preferences at all. So, if you want to get your kids to like their greens and not just eat them too, you are better off tricking them or trying that as soon as possible. Okay, I am confused. One reason I'm confused, I should be confused from this because I skipped to the end of the article. I don't know this first sentence here. I know they're referring to something before. Actually, let me change this. Let's see. For unfamiliar options, new stuff. However, so this word "however" is linking to the idea before, and I don't know what is in the paragraph above, so I need to look at that before I understand this. However, that might be another story. Again, it's referring to something above. So I don't understand that. That's fine. But the second part here, we have a statement, and then we have an illustration or a specific example to support that statement. So what is the statement? So this is the statement here in blue. This is the main idea. And then what comes next is trying to explain it. According to cognitive dissonance theory, what is that? I don't know what that is. Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance theory. Maybe that's explained above. I don't know. This is a new idea to me, definitely related to psychology. According to cognitive dissonance theory, our brain tries to reduce the tension between two simultaneously held views. I need to be able to read this better. Can I get rid of the green? Okay. All right. So according to this theory, whatever, I don't know what the theory is, our brain tries to reduce the tension. So our brain is trying to, okay, so the tension, this is some kind of a problem, right? The tension is some kind of a conflict. There's a struggle in the brain, and it's trying to reduce that tension between two simultaneously held views. So a view is going to be an opinion. What does simultaneously mean? What does that mean? At the same time, right? So according to cognitive dissonance theory, our brain tries to reduce the tension between two simultaneously held views. My understanding of this, again, I'm not a psychologist, so this is something I'm not an expert in at all. So my understanding, which could be wrong, is that it's saying that our brain, when we are we have a conflict, maybe there are two things that we have an opinion on, and there seems to be a disagreement between them, we want to reduce that disagreement. And to explain that, so they give us an explanation, right? I'm not sure what that means. Well, that's fine. Luckily, we have an illustration right here to explain it. Here we go. Okay, so for example, here's a specific example to try to explain this idea of cognitive dissonance theory. Cognitive dissonance theory. All right. So, what is the explanation? Here's the explanation. If you attend a course, right? So it's a college course. So you go to, you sign up for a course, university course, you're there in class, and it's difficult. It's hard. It's a difficult topic. You might come to like, as we saw before, come to like, right? Eventually like it. You might like that topic more. You might like it more. Okay, so all of this is all part of the same grammatical unit. You might like the topic more. Why? Why would you like the topic more if it is difficult, if it is hard? Because your brain is trying to reduce. You like it more. Why? To reduce the tension. Reduce the tension. Reduce. To reduce the tension. Actually, the same thing. Reduce the tension between. Look at that. Reduce the tension between. So to reduce the tension between. So two things. One, the unpleasantness of the course makes you uncomfortable. And number two, the fact that you chose it. As long as you didn't have a clear preference before. Interesting. I'm slowly beginning to understand. This right here is a qualifier. This is qualifying the statement. that comes before. Wow. I'm going to try to come up with my own. I'm going to try to come up with my own. Can I get rid of the? Oh, here we go. I'm going to get rid of this one like that. As long as you did not have a clear preference before. Wow. All right. So let's go and talk about preferences for a second. I'm gonna give you my idea of what's going on. Now I'm just jumping to listen. This is the end of the article, and for me to expect to understand everything in the conclusion, I haven't read the article yet. I am making my best guess. I know I'm taking a lot of time, and what you'll see here is that I will take the time for the introduction and conclusion, but a lot of the middle, not all of it, but a lot of it I'm going to be skimming very quickly, because my goal here is just to get the general sense of this article. If I'm doing a research project that requires me looking at many articles, I don't want to have to read 100% of the article. I want to understand if this article will be useful for me as quickly as possible. So if I have 10 articles, right? For all 10 articles, I may do what I'm doing now, look at the title, introduction, and conclusion. But maybe only 3 of the articles will I decide are useful for my research project or whatever I'm using it for. Then those 3 articles I will focus on. The other 7, I don't want them, I don't need them, and I don't need to be reading them. But, okay, so that's my justification, because you might be seeing me spending a lot of time looking at just the beginning and the end, but that's necessary. That's necessary for me, because I don't want to do this for every paragraph in the article. All right, but back to what I'm saying. So we're not going to talk about pizza, and we're not going to talk about broccoli. Let's talk about ice cream. Right? Let's talk about ice cream. And let's talk about we have a child. Here's our child who likes ice cream. I don't know, there's our ice cream right there. I don't know what kind of flavor. We'll say maybe like a chocolate or something. I don't know what kind of. Okay. So if the child goes to an ice cream store and so we're going to set up 2 situations, 2 scenarios. Maybe I need 2 children. So let's say we have child 1. So this will be child number 1. Child number 1 has a preference for chocolate and does not like strawberry, for example. Or let's do something. Let's say so we'll say chocolate, ice cream, and then we'll say, so in the United States, something that would be more unusual maybe would be mango ice cream. Mango ice cream. Doesn't like that. Doesn't like that ice cream, mango ice cream. So in this first scenario, if the parent keeps giving the child mango ice cream 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times, no matter how many times, right, that child, if they didn't like mango before, then they're not going to like it eventually. Okay, that's situation number 1. Number 2 The child goes to the store and to the ice cream shop, has never had mango, but they choose mango. They point and they say, "All right, I want to try that mango ice cream. Okay, I want to try it." And they try it for the first time, and they're not sure that they like it, but because they made the choice, after 1, 2, 3, 4 times, they may eventually like it, even though they didn't like the taste at first, because they chose it, I guess. I don't know. You might say that's confusing. I don't understand it. I'll confess to you that without having read all the article, this is my best guess, and I'm not confident in my explanation either. But that's what I'm understanding from this conclusion. That in the second scenario, that this is a new, unfamiliar flavor, and didn't have a decision, where this one, they knew the mango was a no on that. So it's this idea of going into it not being sure. It's unfamiliar. Okay, that's the idea there with unfamiliar. Fine. Okay, that's enough. That is enough. That is enough. We have dealt with this a lot with the last paragraph. There's a lot of interesting vocabulary in here that you could pursue. The last thing that I would have a student do is to take 2 minutes and skim the article. And do you know what skimming means? To skim the article. Where's my document here? So, to skim the article is to read very quickly, but not every word. You're not reading every word. To read quickly by just letting your eyes run down the document and just noticing things. So if I set up I set up a timer like on my phone for 2 minutes. Basically, the process would be I'd start here, and I'd very quickly just go, all right, psychology there. Let's see, options scale of 1 to 10. Don't know what that is. Paris. Oh, that's interesting. Paris again. Something about Rome and Paris. Look at all that Rome and Paris. Why? I don't know what that's. Playing the violin. Interesting. But anyway, you just see, I'm not really. I'm just kind of going quickly. Will I understand all the article? No. But remember, what is the goal here? The goal here is trying to get a sense of the main idea. I see we're talking about children a lot, right? Love playing the violin. I think it's about students. I'm guessing. I don't see the word child. Not the case. So something negatively. Something is a mistake. Something for 50 years. I don't know. Again, research, dealing with research. Rome again, Paris again. What? Rome, Paris. Why? I don't know. But something about scientific. Oh, I did see the word errors there. Here's something about economics. I don't know. There's somebody's name. I don't know. Oh, a number. That's interesting. Numbers are, oh my gosh, more numbers. Interesting. I'm just going to keep going. And then, how do I move this down here? All right, keep going. Rome and Paris again. Why? More numbers again. Great. Interesting. More numbers again. Are we going to see Rome and I don't see Rome and Paris again. And they did not. There was no difference. Interesting. More numbers, some participants. Okay. So, there it is. Did I read this? I did not read this. I skimmed it. And what did I notice? So without having read that, I noticed a couple of things. I noticed that there's numbers, right? So obviously they're getting some, maybe it's the research, a study, something. And I noticed Rome and Paris over and over again for some reason. I guess it would have to do with preference, people choosing Rome to Paris. I don't know. But and I saw a lot of the numbers are being repeated. A lot of the Rome and Paris is being repeated. So now I might decide to go back and read this more carefully, or I might not. I might decide this isn't interesting to me. It doesn't fit with my research. But at least I see the kind of information that is in this section. Then the last thing that I haven't read yet is this paragraph here, which I'm interested just to skim this one. Kids' preferences. Okay, children. Yes and no. That's interesting. Not sure. Something about choices. Something about money. I did see money being referred to earlier. And then, that's interesting. A weird little sorry. Okay. Again, I have not read it, but I'm just getting a quick glimpse of the kind of information. No numbers here. So this is part of the conclusion. So we don't have any numbers. I don't see Rome or Italy or Rome and Paris being referred to here. But it's all the same kind of thing. So am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised. It seems to be pretty much what I expected. And at this point, I would feel confident in making a decision whether I would continue to read this deeply to really try to understand it 100%, or if I think, this isn't really what I'm interested in reading about now, and I'm going on to a different article. I could make that choice. For me, I am interested in all these numbers. What's the deal with all these numbers? I have no idea. That's something that I might look at later. But that would move on to reading properly. So everything that we've done here today would fall under the category of pre-reading. So these are activities that we do in preparation to a complete or deep reading of a text. But yeah. So that's the idea. That's the idea. All right. So we're going to end it here for today with this particular article. Next time we're going to choose a completely new article in a new category. If you have questions based on anything I talked about here, go ahead and leave comments, and I'll answer comments related to this particular article. And if you have suggestions on certain topics that you'd like to see me work with, for example, I don't know, economics or history or political science or whatever. I'm not an expert in any of those areas, but I would show you my approach, how I would tackle reading difficult texts. Okay. Great. Thanks for hanging out, and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.